Okay, so yesterday we have discussed about virtual warehouses. We have learned how virtual warehouses are actually calculating the credits, how the credits will be converted to dollars. So all those things we have discussed. Okay. Now today we will talk about resource monitor. Okay, resource monitor. So a resource monitor is nothing but, like as the name suggesting, it is something like monitor. It is something like resource monitor is something like it will be monitoring your resources. Monitoring your resources in the sense like if I talk about the resources in Snowflake, actually we mean virtual warehouses. So nothing but resource monitor is nothing but like it's an account level object. Okay, which is which monitors virtual warehouses. So this is what the resource monitor's activity. Resource monitor will be monitoring your virtual warehouses. Now in why we will be using the resource monitor, because we know like the virtual warehouses every day, whenever we will be consuming or whenever we will be using the virtual warehouses, it will be consuming your credits. And whenever it will be consuming the credits, basically that consumption is directly connected with the project expenses, right? Because whatever the virtual warehouses will be consuming, according to that your project expenses will be keep on increasing, because whatever credits they will be consuming, that you have to end of the period or end of the month, that dollar or something, like. So that is the reason whatever the virtual warehouses will be consuming, that you have to pay end of the month. So that means their consumption directly connected with the basically your project expenses. Now that's the reason it is very important to keep an track or keep an eye on the virtual warehouses consumption every day, every second, every minute. And that is the reason this resource monitors object will be created. Resource monitor will be created to monitor your virtual warehouses, how much they are consuming every day, and what is their goal actually. What is my goal? What is my maximum budget? What is the maximum limit that I can consume? Not more than that. Whenever they will reach to that limit, so your resource monitor will take action. So that will be three type of action is there. I'll tell you what are all the actions. But whenever that virtual warehouses will reach to their limit, that will limit in the sense, let's say for an example, let's say for my project this month, in the month of February, I have 100 USD is the budget as a 100 USD budget for what? Budget for compute charges. Okay, for an example, 100 USD is the budget for compute charges. Now whenever basically this is the budget. Now let's say per credit price is 2 USD. Per credit price is 2 USD. Then by using 100 USD, how many credits I can consume? I can consume 100 divided by 2 is equal to 50 credits, right? That is what I can do, because 100 USD is my budget, 2 USD per credit charges. Example, for an example, I'm thinking. So total 50 credits I can consume this month. Now this 50 credits is my threshold limit, or you can call it as a credit quota. Okay, this is what we call as a credit quota. Now this is my limit. Now whenever my virtual warehouses will try to cross this limit, basically resource monitors, whatever resource monitors I will do, that resource monitors will take action, and that action will be impacted all the virtual warehouses whatever will be tagged with that resource monitor. Okay, so this is how basically resource monitor works. So resource monitor, simply it is an account level object, like what, not only like whatever object you are creating outside of the database. For an example, let's say if I talk about table schema, view, these are all actually, as I told you, database level object. Resource monitor, virtual warehouses, these are all account level object. So resource monitor is nothing but an account level object which actually monitors your virtual warehouses. It will track each and every consumption, each and every day's consumption of the virtual warehouses, and it will basically there will be a credit quota or threshold limit. Whenever your virtual warehouses will try to cross that limit, your resource monitor will take action. That is what the main reason that we create the resource monitor. Okay. Sorry. Now let's say there are actually two type of resource monitor is there. One is warehouse level. Another one is account level. One is warehouse level resource monitor. Another one is account level resource monitor. Warehouse level resource monitor is something which will be monitoring to the dedicated warehouses. For an example, let's say I created one resource monitor WRM1. This is the name of the resource monitor. For any name you can give, XYZ, ABCD, whatever you want, you can give. But for maintaining something like the W for warehouse, R for resource, M for monitor 1. So I kept the name as a WRM1. So warehouse level resource monitor WRM1 I created, and for an example, let's say in my account I have total 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 warehouses are there. Okay. Now what I did, whenever I will create the warehouse level resource monitor, Snowflake will allow us to mention the warehouse name, or that means warehouse level resource monitor will be dedicated to some warehouses. That means, for an example, let's say while creating the warehouse level resource monitor, I mentioned W1, W2, W3 virtual warehouses. So that means this resource monitor will be monitoring only these three virtual warehouses. This resource monitor will be monitoring only these three virtual warehouses. It is not concerned about other virtual warehouses in your account. It is only concerned about W1, W2, and W3. Okay. And for an example, let's say I have mentioned 50 credits is the threshold limit. So whenever altogether these three virtual warehouses, will try to consume or will try to cross this 50 credits limit, then this resource monitor will take action, and that action will be impacted all of the three virtual warehouses. Okay, this is what we call warehouse level resource monitor. So whenever your virtual warehouses, that means this W1, W2, W3 altogether will try to cross this 50 credits limit, then your resource monitor 1 will take action, and that action will be impacted all of these three virtual warehouses. Okay, all of these three virtual warehouses. Okay, now you can see W1, let's say for an example, in between it is quite possible, like let's say W1 warehouse not even used. Okay, only W2, let's say W2 has consumed 30 credits and W3 has consumed 20 credits. So in that case also their total consumption is 50 credits, and whenever they will try to cross the 50 credits, then WRM1 will take action, and that action will be implied on or impacted on all of the three virtual warehouses. In between, W1 has not used. Even W1 did not consume a single credit, but still it will be impacted because they are in a group. Okay. So that is the reason. This is what we call warehouse level resource monitor. Similarly, let's say I created another resource monitor called WRM2, and there I mentioned, let's say W4, W5. These two, total 5 virtual warehouses are there. So these three I assigned with the WRM1, and these two I assigned with the WRM2. So let's say here I mentioned 30 credits as a threshold limit. Okay, let's say 30 credits as a threshold limit I mention. Now similar way it will be working. WRM2 will be monitoring W4 and W5. Okay, it is only concerned about these two virtual warehouse, not these. Similarly, this one also concerned about these three virtual warehouse, not these two. Whenever these two virtual warehouses will try to cross the 30 credits limit, then WRM2 will take action, and that will be impacted all of these two virtual warehouses. Now, in any point of time, this situation is not possible that one warehouse is being monitored by the WRM1 and WRM2 both. This situation is not possible. One warehouse can be tagged with one resource monitor at a time. if you want to tag, let's say W1 is tagged with WRM1, and again you are trying to tag the the W1 warehouse with the WRM2, in that case it will be reassigned. Actually, it will delete from the first one, it will come to the second one. Simple thing. So a simple scenario you have to understand, that one warehouse can be monitored by one single resource monitor only. At the same time, it is monitoring with multiple resource monitor. That is not possible here. If you try to do that, then the older resource monitor will be release that warehouse and it will be added to the new resource monitor. Okay, so that is how it will be working. This is what we talk about the warehouse level resource monitor. Now, at the same time, I can create another resource monitor, which I called as an account level resource monitor. For an example, let's say I created ARM account level resource monitor. And whenever I will create the account level resource monitor, Snowflake will not allow us to mention the warehouse name. Why? Because account level resource monitor by default will be monitoring all of the virtual warehouses. Okay, by default, it will be monitoring all of the virtual warehouses. W1, W2, W3, W4, W5, all will be tagged with the account level resource monitor by default. You don't need to mention any warehouse name while creating the resource monitor, because this type of resource monitor will be monitoring all of the virtual warehouses which is there in the account level. Okay, this is what we call account level resource monitor. Now these two resource monitor, we will be see how to create the resource monitor, but before that we will understand this diagram also, how these two resource monitor will be working, so that we will be understanding. So basically, let's say we have warehouse, in our company or in our project, we have total 5 virtual warehouses. Okay, let's say warehouse 1, warehouse 2, warehouse 3, warehouse 4, and warehouse 5. Total 5 virtual warehouses I have. In between, warehouse 4 and warehouse 5 is getting monitored by resource monitor 3. So this resource monitor 3 is a warehouse level resource monitor. Okay, this is because why this is warehouse level resource monitor, because this is dedicatedly monitoring warehouse 4 and warehouse 5, because it is dedicatedly monitoring warehouse 4 and warehouse 5, and that's the reason this is what we called as a warehouse level resource monitor. Okay, now their credit quota is 2500. That means if warehouse 4 and warehouse 5 altogether consumes 2500 credit quota, or reach to 2500 quota, or try to cross the 2500 quota, then resource monitor 3 will take action, and that action will be impacted on warehouse 4 and on warehouse 5. Okay, this is the warehouse level resource monitor. Similarly, this is also warehouse level resource monitor, because this is also dedicatedly monitoring warehouse 3. Okay, now their credit quota is 1000. Whenever warehouse 3 will try to cross this 1000 credit quota limit, then resource monitor 2 will take action, and that action will be impacted only on the warehouse 3. Okay, so this one and this one, these are all warehouse level resource monitor. But this one is the account level resource monitor. Here we have the credit quota of 5000. And it is not dedicated with any warehouse. Rather, I can say this is actually monitoring all of the virtual warehouses. Whenever all these 5 virtual warehouses will reach to 5000 quota, then this resource monitor 1 will be taking action, and that action will be impacted all of the virtual warehouses under your account. For an example, let's say I started my resource monitor from 1st of February. And on today, let's say it reached, let's say today is the day when my warehouses consumption, let's say warehouse 4 and 5 together reach to 2000 quota. Or let's say warehouse 4 and 5 today they reach to 2000 consumption. Okay, so their limit, actually their warehouse level resource monitor 3 limit is 2500. So for an example, warehouse 4 and 5, today is the 23rd February, so on 23rd February they reach to 2000, or let's say on 23rd, from starting from the 1st of February, let's say till 23rd of February, they have consumed warehouse 4 and warehouse 5, they have consumed 2000 quota, or let's say simple 2000 credits they have consumed. Okay, so 2000 is not the limit, so that means hopefully the resource monitor 3 will not take any action on the warehouse 4 and 5, because if we declare that 100%, whenever 100% they will reach, then the action will be taken. In that case, basically whenever they reach to 2000 quota, so because it is not 2500, it is not reached to the target limit, so resource monitor 3 will not take any action on the warehouse 4 and 5. Okay, so these two warehouse consume 2000 quota, 2000 credits. Similarly, let's say warehouse 3 has consumed 500 credits. So 500 is also not the quota. So basically resource monitor 2 will also not take any action on the warehouse 3. Okay. Let's say on the same day, warehouse 1 and warehouse 2 together consume 2500 credit quota. Or let's say warehouse 1 and warehouse 2 together consume 2500 credits. So starting from the 1st of February, daily they have consumed some credits, and one day they reach to this limit, that they reach to this situation that warehouse 4 and 5 consume 2000 credits, warehouse 3 consume 500 credits. So altogether these three becomes 2500, and these two consume 2500. So that means they are all 5 virtual warehouses consumption is getting 5000, which is the credit quota of the account level resource monitor. Now whenever altogether they will try to cross this limit, this resource monitor will take action, and that action will be impacted all of the 5 virtual warehouses. Remember here, though warehouse 4 and warehouse 5 and warehouse 3 is having their dedicated resource monitor, but still if they reach to account level quota, then whatever the account level resource monitor will take action, that action will be impacted all of the 5 virtual warehouses. Now because they have not touched their dedicated limit, before touching the account limit, if they touch the dedicated limit, then this resource monitor will take action. Let's say your altogether 5 virtual warehouses did not consume 5000 quota, but warehouse 4 and warehouse 5 has consumed 2500 quota. Then this resource monitor 3 will take action on these two. So whatever resource monitor's flag will be triggered, or that resource monitor will take action. If resource monitor 1's flag is got triggered, then resource monitor 1 will be taking action first. If this one, otherwise this one, whatever credit quota will be touched, that will be impact the warehouses. Okay, so this is how basically your resource monitor works. So account level resource monitor, and these are all warehouse level resource monitor. Now let's see how basically we will be creating the resource monitors. So it's simple. So let's go to in the admin section, you have to go to the cost management section. Okay, we will select a particular virtual warehouse and we'll go to the resource monitor. So here you can see already I have some resource monitor created. I'll drop it. And I will be creating new one. So for an example, let's say what I will do, I will create a new resource monitor. So let's say click on the plus sign, and let's say I'm writing here the name of the resource monitor, WRM1 for an example. And here credit quota, I'm mentioning any credit quota you can mention, but for an example, let's say I'm mentioning here 20 credit quota. Okay, so 20 is my credit quota. I want to actually, why I'm mentioning this 20 credit quota, because going forward I will be using this account, and one day my virtual warehouses will consume 20 credits. Then I can be able to see that how this action has been taken on the warehouses. So that's the reason I'm giving here minimum level of credit quota here. After that, you can mention the monitor type. what is the monitor type here? So basically there are two type of monitor. One is account level, one is warehouse level. As I told you, there are two type of resource monitor can be created. One is account level resource monitor, another one is warehouse level resource monitor. Now you can see if you mention the account level resource monitor, it will, after monitor type, you have the schedule option. But if you click here the warehouse level resource monitor, then one new text box will be enabled here, and that is what we call warehouse. Now from here you have to choose the warehouse name. For an example, I chosen W1, W2, W3. That means W1, W2, W3, these three virtual warehouses will be monitored by this resource monitor. So whatever, because as I told you, whenever I am creating the warehouse level resource monitor, Snowflake will allow us to mention the warehouse's name, which will be monitored by this resource monitor. So that's the reason you have mentioned the name of these warehouses. Okay. After that, it is coming about the schedule option. So you can customize it. For an example, if you want to start the monitoring immediately after the creation of the resource monitor, you can choose the immediately option. That means I created the resource monitor and immediately it will start monitoring your virtual warehouses. In that case, you can choose immediately. If you want to choose any future date, let's say I want to start my resource monitor to monitor my virtual warehouses from 1st of March. So you can choose the custom start date. You can choose the custom end date when you want to end your monitoring. Like you can mention the range also, from which date to which date. That also you can mention. Okay, so for an example, I am mentioning the immediately option. Like once it is created, it will be immediately start monitoring your virtual warehouses. That's the reason I'm mentioning immediately option here. After that, you can come down and here there is a reset option available. Reset option is nothing but like let's say every month. Let's say if you have chosen the reset option as a monthly, that means every month, wherever the first day will start, the count will start from the zero again. That means, let's say your virtual var, let's say I created one resource monitor from 1st of February. Now from 1st of February, that resource monitor will be keep on monitoring your virtual warehouses, and on 29, let's say whatever point they will reach, let's say your virtual on 29 your virtual warehouses has reached to 500 credit quota, or let's say 500 credits has been consumed, and that will be measured or that will be tracked by the resource monitor also. And whenever the next month starts, then again count will be start from zero. So monthly means every first day of the month the count, or that means the tracking will be resetted. That means, let's say I have given this month, February month, my credit quota is 1000. Now, let's say on 29th of February, all my virtual warehouses has reached to 900 credit quota. They did not reach to 1000 quota. Now, whenever the March 1st will come, the count will not continue. It will reset again from the zero. Again for the March month, it will count from 0, 1, 2, like that it will be counting. This is how basically the reset option works. If you choose the monthly, then monthly wise. If you choose the daily, then every 0000 hours the count will be reset from 0. Similarly, weekly with every Sunday it will count will 0 from start with 0. Every yearly means 1st of the January it will count with 0. It will start count will be reset from 0. And if you choose never option, then the count will never be resetted. If it is completing with 900 credits in the month of February, then from there itself it will continuing the counting from the March. It will not reset. So for an example, let's say if you chosen the monthly wise and you can apply, this is the schedule option. After that, these are all the parameter you have to give. Based on this parameter, resource monitor will be taking action. There are three type of actions are there. One, only notify us. It will not impact anything. It will just notify us which percentage when you want to get a notification. Let's say I want to get a notification whenever 80% of the credit quota will be used. 80% means 80% of 20. 80% of 20. Whenever they will reach to 80% of 20 credit quota, basically I will get a notification through the email. Okay, that is first action. Second action is it will suspend and notify. Let's say I have mentioned here 100 credit quota, 100%, 100%, not credit quota, 100%. I have mentioned here. This is not mandatory that all these three action you have to take. You can take one action also, and you can create your resource monitor, and or you can take all the action option also. So let's say at 80%, I want to get a notification at 100%. Whenever the 100% credit quota will be used, that means whenever all these three virtual warehouses will reach to 20 credit quota, then I want to suspend my virtual warehouses, because if they are suspended, they will not be able to consume more credits. Because remember, whenever a resource monitor will suspend a warehouse, you cannot resume them manually, or anyway you cannot resume them. You have to resume in some other way. You cannot resume them. That means if any warehouses has been suspended by resource monitor, that warehouses will not be used anymore within that particular cycle. Whenever again next month comes, or next year or next day comes, then again the count will be reset from 0. So again you can use that virtual warehouses, but within that period of time you can't use that virtual warehouses again. Okay, so for an example, let's say I have mentioned here 100%. Now whenever I mention here 100%, so what does it mean? What it does mean is basically, whenever these three virtual warehouses will consume 100% of the credit quota, that means 20 credits here, the credit quota, whenever they will reach to 20 credit, it will suspend these three virtual warehouses. But there is a difference. This one is also suspend, this one is also suspend. But there is a difference between these two. This suspension will be suspending the virtual warehouses definitely. But if they are executing any transaction, then it will allow the ongoing transaction to complete. Let's say whenever they reach to 100 credit quota, at that time these virtual warehouses was executing some queries, maybe some update statement, maybe some delete statement, maybe some data loading, whatever, anything they was doing. Now it will allow these warehouses to complete the executing transactions, and then it will suspend the warehouses. This is the suspend and notify option. But whenever I will choose the suspend immediately, let's say I have given here 120%, 120% of this credit quota. Okay, so whenever they will reach to 120% of this credit quota, then suspend immediately. That means suspend immediately means it will terminate all the programs if they are running anything, and it will suspend. So this one will allow your warehouses to complete the ongoing transaction, but this suspension will not allow your ongoing transaction to be completed. It will immediately abrupt all the transactions, and it will suspend your virtual warehouses. So this 120, so maximum limit, if we are choosing this option, then we choose the maximum buffer, that which buffer after that we can't go beyond. So that's the extreme limit, because otherwise we choose this option or we choose this option. Okay, so for an example, if you have to, so this three type of action will be taken. One, it will only notify whenever the 80% will reach. Second one, it will suspend the virtual warehouses whenever they will reach to 100 credit quota, 100% credit quota. But remember, if at that time if they are executing anything, then they will allow to complete those execution. Okay, so in that case they might be go beyond the 100% limit, but still they will be allowing to complete the execution. And whenever 120% will be reaching, then it will immediately abrupt all the transactions, and it will terminate the transactions, and it will basically suspend all of your virtual warehouses. Okay, so let's create the let's create the resource monitor. Now you can see this is the resource monitor got created, and credit quota used is showing right now 0%. This is the way basically your resource monitor gets created, and this is the way basically your resource monitor works. Now remember one thing, In case of yesterday, we have seen, let's say, while creating the
इतनी देर दोनों गए कहाँ?
let's say while creating the virtual warehouses, all the virtual warehouses are, so while creating the virtual warehouses, we have told like there is an option. If I go to the edit option, there is an option called auto suspend and auto resume. Yesterday we have seen, right? And because of this auto suspend checkbox is ticked, basically after 5 minutes of inactivity, this virtual warehouses will be automatically suspended. Now, whenever your virtual warehouses are suspended because of this reason, then you can click here and you can resume them. There is no issue with that. If you click here and you can resume, or while running the query, it will be automatically resumed. So you can be, these warehouses can be in a started mode. But remember one thing, if your warehouses has been suspended by your resource monitor, because they reach to the credit points or something, and that's the reason basically your warehouses has been suspended by the resource monitor, then in that case your warehouses will not be able to resume from this option, so that you will be able to see whenever your warehouses will reach to that limit. So my suggestion will be, you just create your resource monitor, keep 10-15 as a credit quota, and wait till the time when you reach to that credit quota by using, whenever in coming classes you will be loading data, you will be practicing, so definitely you will reach to that point after 3-4 days, and then you will be seeing that your virtual warehouses has been basically suspended by the resource monitor, and whenever you are trying to resume them from this option, basically they will tell you that this virtual warehouses has been suspended by your resource monitor and you can't resume them. So if any warehouses has been suspended by the resource monitor, that warehouses can't be resumed in a normal way. If you want to resume that particular virtual warehouses, either you have to increase the credit quota. Let's say your W1 virtual warehouses is suspended, or W2, W3, these are all suspended. Now you want to use these virtual warehouses. So as it is, if you go and resume them, it is not possible. So in that case, either you have to increase this credit quota or you have to increase this credit quota, these two quota. Either you have to increase. So here you can make it like 140%, let's say for an example. This one you can make it as a, let's say, this one you can make it, let's say 130%, like that. Either you increase this quota or you have to increase this one. Let's say I make it here 40. So any one of these two you have to do, or then you have to save it. Then your virtual warehouses will get some buffer and you will be able to resume it. So these two things you can do whenever your warehouses are suspended by any resource monitor. If you want to use that warehouses in future, that means, let's say till I have created monthly resource monitor, on 25th itself of the month, your virtual warehouses has been reached to the credit quota and they have been suspended. Now remaining 5 days, how we will be process your activity? So either you need to create a new warehouses, or you can increase the credit quota, and then these same warehouses can be utilized. So this is how basically your resource monitor works. Clear? Any question, any doubt? All good? Okay. Now another thing we will see, that is what we call cache memory. In Snowflake, we have three type of cache memory available. One is metadata cache, one is results cache, and another one is warehouse cache. So cache memory is nothing but temporary memory which will be used to process your data actually. So in between the metadata cache, results cache, and warehouse cache, these three cache memory available. Metadata cache and results cache available in the cloud layer, warehouse cache available in the query processing layer, metadata cache and results cache available in the cloud layer, and query and warehouse cache available in warehouse layer or query processing layer. This warehouse cache, you can call it as a warehouse cache, you can call it as a SSD cache, or you can call it as a local memory as well. Any one name can be there in your question paper or somewhere. So basically you can choose this one option. So all are same, warehouse cache or SSD cache or local memory. Okay. And another one is results cache, another one is metadata cache. Now we will be seeing the utilization of these three cache. Okay. So for an example, let's say first what I'll do, I will write here a simple query called, let's say, select, one second. Let's say this is a table. From this table, I want to find out the count of the data. Okay. Before going into that, I will go to the warehouse section and I will suspend all of the virtual warehouses. Sorry. I will suspend all of the virtual. This one is resumed. I am making it suspended. So you can see right now all of my virtual warehouses are in suspended mode. You can see all of these virtual warehouses are in suspended mode. All are suspended. Now in this position, let's say I am writing this query. So I should get an error, right? But it is not giving you any error. All of the virtual warehouses are in suspended mode. You can see all are in suspended mode, but still this record is getting retrieved. Similarly, I can write here, select, let's say this is the catalog page. I will take, let's say this is the column. I'm taking one column and maximum of this column I'm trying to finding out from this. Let's execute. So you are getting the record without utilizing the virtual warehouses. So as I told you yesterday, this is not possible, but here it is becoming possible. Now instead of that, if you use the another query called minimum, let's say minimum of this number, any one, any columns, minimum maximum value. Let's say I'm executing, you are getting 1. That is also without utilizing the virtual warehouses. How these are all possible? Remember one thing, metadata, these records are returned from the metadata cache. Metadata cache contains the information related to the table. How many total counts are there? What is the each column's minimum value? What is the each column's maximum value? These are all will be tracked, or these are all will be up to date with the metadata cache. Metadata cache will contain this information, and these records will be keep on updating. Let's say I insert some data into the table, the metadata cache also will be updated with that latest value. So metadata cache always will be up to date. And these queries are not utilizing your virtual warehouses, because these queries are returning the record from the metadata cache. So that's the reason here you can see whenever I'm writing this count star query on the table, it is fetching the record from the metadata cache itself. And because metadata cache is there in the cloud layer, so that's the reason the control is not going to the next layer of the query processing layer. And that is the reason it is not using your virtual warehouses. Okay. So this type of records like count, minimum value, maximum value, these records will be fetched directly from the metadata cache. And you can understand this thing, that these records you are fetching in the Snowflake without utilizing any credits. That means you are fetching this record completely free of cost. because this type of records returned without utilizing your virtual warehouses. So that's the reason the virtual warehouses are not consuming any credits. So that's been this queries record you are returning without utilizing any credits. Now I told you that it is fetching from the metadata cache, but how will you see that? Okay, right, you are saying correct. So we will go to this symbol, this is monitor symbol. We'll go to the query history. We'll go to the query history. These are all the query I have executed. So you can say count star. I will click on this query. We will, if you want to see that query, you can see this is the query record I executed, and I got the record as a 50,000. For this query, if you go to the query profile, you will be able to see, you can see metadata based results. So that means this query returned the record from the metadata cache. Similarly, if you go to this maximum one also, if you go to the query profile, metadata based results. Similarly, if you go to the minimum one also, if you go to the query profile, metadata based results. Now, instead of maximum, minimum, if I use the average, what will happen? It will use the virtual warehouse. Why? Because for finding out the average, you have to derive the record. Any record which needs the derivation will use virtual warehouses. Metadata cache will give you the direct output. What is the minimum value, maximum value? To finding out the minimum value, maximum value, I don't need to basically go for any derivation. But to finding out the average, summation, we need to derive something. We need to do the calculation. First, we need to take all the sum, then we have to divide with the number of units, and then I will get the average. So that is the derivation. If you need the derivation in the query, then it will not fetch from the metadata cache. Metadata cache does not contain data. Metadata cache contains data about data. How many records are there? It can tell you. What is the minimum value of each column? It can tell you. What is the maximum value of each column? It can tell you. But it cannot tell you what is the average value of this column. What is the sum of this column? So this type of derived record will not be fetched from the metadata cache, because metadata cache does not hold the actual record. Actual record is there in your database only. That's the reason whenever I will write a simple query like select star from table, first time I'm executing the query, at the time the control directly will go to the database storage, right? And at that time your results cache and warehouse cache is completely empty. Okay, the control will directly go to the database storage, and at that time your results cache and warehouse cache is completely empty. While fetching the record from the database storage to the user, it will create a replica in the warehouse cache. Whatever data it is fetching, that data will be replicated in the warehouse cache, as well as it will be creating a replica in the results cache. Okay, it will create, so entire call center table will be replicated in the warehouse cache, as it will be replicated in the query results cache. Now second time if I execute exactly same query without making any changes in the query, because last time the record already replicated in the warehouse in the results cache. Now second time if I do not change the query and if I use the same query again, then it will be fetching the record from the results cache. In that case also virtual warehouses will not be used, because results cache is there in the cloud layer. And that's the reason it will not use the virtual warehouses. It will fetch the record from the results cache. And if I made any modification in the query, or for an example, whatever record we are fetching, if that record already there in the warehouse cache, then it will fetch from the warehouse cache itself. It will not go to the centralized storage. Okay. For an example, let's say I'm writing here select star from, let's say, This is the query we are writing. So let's start from the catalog page. Let's execute this query. Now you can see it will be using your virtual warehouses. You can come here, you can see your virtual warehouses turned to green and it is started mode. Because you are fetching actual data, it will be using the virtual warehouses. So it fetch the data. Now this time, so as I told you, the first time I executed this query, it will fetch the record from the database storage. Second time, without changing anything, if I execute the query again, it will fetch the record from the results cache. Okay. And third time, let's say after whatever time is, you can say, like afterwards, if I fetch this record, I will not fetch the exactly same record. Let's say in this query I will be changing something. Let's say I don't want to fetch all the record. I'm copying a couple of columns here. Let's say I made some changes on the table. Let's say last time I was fetching the entire record. Now I don't want to fetch all the record. I just made some changes in the query. So if you make any changes in the query level, basically in that case your results cache will not be utilized. Results cache will be utilized if you are running exactly same query. But if you are changing the query, then results cache will not be utilized. Let's say that's the reason. Again, I'm repeating. Whenever first time I executed this query record set has been returned from the database storage. I will show you the proof. Whenever second time, without making any changes, no uppercase, no lowercase, nothing, exactly same query we are using. And in that case, it will be using the results cache to execute your record. In the second time, it will not go to the database storage. But now at this time, though I am fetching the record from the catalog page table only, but not all. I have selected couple of columns and then I'm fetching the record. Let's say I'm fetching the record. So this time what will happen, I'll tell you. Let's go to the again the query history here. And you can see first time what I did, I executed this query. So let's click on it. It took 1.2 seconds. Duration is 1.2 seconds. And you can see this is the record we are fetching from the catalog page. It took 1.2 seconds. If you go to the query profile, you can see it fetched the record from the database. You can see this is the database, this is the table. From there 50k record has been fetched by the results, right? And if you go down, you will be able to see how many partitions scan, how many partition total, everything. And percentage scan from the cache is 0%. So that means no record has been fetched from the cache memory. This percentage is actually talk about the warehouse cache. Okay. Now let's say I'm going to the second option. Second time what I did, I executed exactly same query again. It took 65 milliseconds. Last time, whenever it fetched the data from the database, it took 1.2 seconds. But this time, because the record is fetching from the results cache, it is utilizing 65 milliseconds. So you can see how the performance get benefited by using the results cache. And if you go to the query profile, you will be seeing query results reuse. In this case, you cannot see the database related details here. Query results reuse means it is using the results cache. Now, last time what I did, I fetched the record from the same table, but with some specific column, or maybe you can add some where clause also. Now, whatever records you are fetching, now you can see here also you took 490 milliseconds. First time, whenever you fetch the data from the database, it took 1.2 seconds. Now you are fetching the record from the warehouse cache. This one is fetching the record from the warehouse cache and it is taking 490 milliseconds. So warehouse cache also will be improve the performance. And if you go to the query profile, you can see these are all 0%, 0%, and percentage scan from the cache is now 100%. So this is something we called as a warehouse cache. So now the record is fetching from the warehouse cache. If you modify your queries, it will not use the results cache. In that case, it will try to use our warehouse cache. And if the record is there in the warehouse cache, it will fetch from the warehouse cache. It will not go to the database storage again. Now, these three cache is, as I told you, they are temporary memory. So that means definitely they will be expired on some day. So to understand the expiry, let's say your metadata cache will never be dropped. It will always store up-to-date record. It will always store up-to-date record. Metadata cache will never be dropped. It will always store up-to-date record. If the table gets any record, new record added or any record deleted, basically the metadata cache will be also updated with that record. Okay, so count will be updated here. That is what the metadata cache. Results cache will hold your record till next 24 hours of non-usage. That means, let's say today 8 o'clock in the morning I executed select star from sales query. Now this query record set will be there in the results cache till tomorrow morning 8 a.m. If you have not used that same query again within this 24 hours of time, that's the reason we call it as a non-usage. If you have not used that query again, then after 24 hours, the record will be removed from the results cache automatically. But if you have used within this 24 hours, if you have used your query again, then the timeline also will be updated. Let's say morning 8 o'clock, I executed a query today. That record set will be there till tomorrow 8 o'clock morning in the results cache. Now, in between this today's 8 o'clock till tomorrow's 8 o'clock, let's say today evening, again I use the same query. So it fetches the record from the results cache and the timeline will be updated till tomorrow's 5 p.m. evening. Like that, it will be keep on updating the timeline if you were keep on executing the same query again and again. So your expiry timeline also keep on updated. Okay, like that it happens. But if you don't use the same query again within the next 24 hours, then after 24 hours, basically the query record will be removed from the results cache. And another case can be happen if the data has updated in the table level. Let's say in your table, you have modified the data, or maybe the table underlying data has changed in the base table. In that case also, to be in sync with the table, the record will be removed from the results cache. Okay. Next one is the warehouse cache. Warehouse cache will be removed whenever the warehouse will be dropped or suspended. So if my warehouse is suspended, the cache will be already removed from that. Whatever record was there, all will be removed. So this is the condition where this cache will be stopped holding the record. Clear? Any doubt, any question?
I have one question. So all this cache query, can we go back and look at the data or not? That how the cache query are saved.
Say query in the sense?
So whatever the cache query is saving at the back end, am I right? So which is refreshing every 24 hours, but those are like stored somewhere. We can see those things or not.
No. They will not store anywhere. These are all temporary memory, and these memories are not chargeable also. If
Yeah,
the
but
record
can we look those memories or not? Can we have access to those things or not?
No, we will not have access on the temporary memories, on the cache memories. We will not have access on the storage also. Like your main storage access also, we don't have. We don't have any storage access. Like let's say this data, the catalog page data stored somewhere, like in the hard disk. Those hard disk access we don't have. We don't have any access on the cloud property. Not the storage, not the processing, nothing. Snowflake has given all the things in a single plate. I am storing the data. We can see, okay, this is the catalog page. It is occupying 2.7 MB storage. This thing I can see, but I cannot see the storage, or I cannot see somewhere the data is there or something like that. Those I cannot see. I can see, okay, this storage has been, this table has been occupied 2.7 MB. This much of data is there. This much of storage it has occupied. These are all the things I can see, but the storage I cannot see. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Fine. So that's all. So again, we will connect on the next week. and we'll continue. So I'll start with the data loading part from Tuesday. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Fine.
Anybody has a question?
Okay. So you have the 3 days time. So I believe you guys will be practicing so that you will be in the same page.
Yeah, Amit, do you mind can share that PPT which you have? So we
Yeah,
can.
right.
Yeah.
I'll share the PPT. Yeah.
Okay, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye bye.
The meeting has ended. Thank you for joining. Goodbye.